tell you a story. Today is the first day at the ballpark. First day I've been down to the ballpark for a while. And just kind of the chatter around the ballpark about Alejandro Kirk, about his diminished role with the team, about the possibility that at some point the Jays may have so little faith in this guy that they add another catcher, or in the very least, they start thinking if they make a deal and Dalton Varsho isn't going to be in the outfield every day, you start thinking about, do you ask Dalton Varsho to catch a couple of games? I mean, people are talking about Alejandro Kirk like he's got 1 foot in the minors. Alejandro Kirk's exit velocity, we're not necessarily big believers in a lot of those stats, but his exit velocity, balls he's hit this year, are down by 3 miles an hour. He's not making hard contact. Today, Kevin, a walk, an infield hit, the only way you can get an infield hit, a single, and then a home run. One game obviously doesn't make a difference.
Might for him.
Or I was going to say, or does it?
It's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. I mean, he's had a really bad year. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's not the expectations with him was high. Like he was supposed to do things in the big part of the field.
Is he ever going to hit for power?
Probably not. Like, I don't think that's getting a lefty slider out front with 2 strikes. I think that's sort of what you can expect. But you can't expect him to have 20 doubles. Like, he can think right center, hit the middle part of the baseball, and think the plate out front. That for me, because I've asked, is the bat speed gone? Is it slower than it was last year? I've been told no. Like, they've hooked up whatever they've been hooking up to him to try and figure out, well, A to B, is it as quick as it was last year? I've even asked John every Friday that we have him on, is it slower? And he continues to say exactly the same thing that I've asked other people. But the velo is down.
That would suggest the contact's not as hard.
Yeah, you would think that could be numerous things. That could be lack of rotation. That could be lack of getting off your backside. That could be.
That doesn't mean slow bat.
That could be thinking you're not seeing the ball well. That could be thinking you're letting it travel too much. Like me, looked awfully good when he caught that thing out front and wasn't letting it try and get so deep. Now, that could have been because it was a little cement mixing sidearm from a lefty in the 70s, and he's allowed to do that. And then you start getting the 95s up. It's very hard because of the way he uses his lower half and because he doesn't have good rotation all the time with his lower half. Again, when you're a good hitter, Jeff, you know this better than anybody, the people that you talk to, the khakis start looking. They try and figure out ways to get you out, right? And it may be the elevated fastball and spinning it in fastball counts. So they've adjusted to him, it looks to me like. Now it's up to him to, this is what I would do. I would hook him up to that machine that throws 115 miles an hour. And it's like the Iron Mike, just get him in a cage and tell him get the head out. Get the head out and start hitting line drives in the back of the net, the left-hand corner of that net. Do that. Simplify that thing. Have good rotation. Set your eyes out in front of the plate. That's it. You have good hand-eye coordination. If your bat speed's still there, which everybody's telling us that it is, now it's up to you to change that and start playing catch-up a little bit more. And that, for me, is if you can hit the heater, why wouldn't you be able to get in an athletic position to hit the heater, and now you can recognize spin, and then you can let that travel and backspin that thing to right center and get an occasional double in the 8th inning off a tough pitcher, right, from a right-hander. So, yeah, how much you reading into that? I wouldn't think if you're a fan of the Blue Jays too much, but if you're Alejandro Kirk and you're sitting on that plane, you're thinking to yourself, man, look at the good rotation I had on a slider, just thinking out front a little bit more. And I can sort of drive down and through that. You could tell that swing was not so much he was sitting on his backside, not getting, rotational like he should be with velocity. Maybe that's it. I just think you need to simplify that thing. Get in the cage, turn that Iron Mike up, start pulling that thing. You do that, that'll direct the barrel, and that'll get your eyes thinking out front. Sometimes we let that thing travel too much. And when you let it travel too much, what do, Jeff? You foul baseballs off. Like, there's no more of that. When I was playing, it was let it travel and think left center. But because of all the velocity, if you're thinking left center a lot, you're fouling that off because that thing's getting too deep and it's getting basically in the middle of your body. And the ball's going, I was left-handed, over the third base dugout. So now you would have to think, I'm hitting that ball to center. right? Because I don't want to get out and around it. I don't want to let it travel too much, but I want to catch it out front and stay through it. So my mindset has to change. That for me is what I think he has to do. And don't have the expectations so high that, I mean, he's not a great hitter. He's a line drive hitter who can get a big hit in the 8th inning. If he does that a couple times a week, be happy with that.
Yeah, and especially if, you know, in the very least, you can tell that his ability to make contact is such that the Jays they do like him as a pinch hitter, right? They do like him as a pinch hitter.
I think they like him catching too, receiving baseballs, and
well, he seems to be. He seems to have a particular strength at the bottom of the zone.
Yeah.
You know, the numbers suggest that he's
Absolutely.
that he's very good at that behind the plate.